Hey guys, it's Mrs. Longmire here. We have been working on how readers can retell text. We started off looking at fiction or literature, stories, and how you can use the three-box strategy to retell, talking about setting and character, and then the problem and the solution. And then last time we looked at how readers retell nonfiction text or information text. And we looked at this strategy called a dissected web that has four ovals, and then those ovals are broken into little pieces. And so, for example, we read a book about penguins. So penguins was the topic. It went in the middle of the web. And then we had a section on where they live, a section on their body parts, a section on baby chicks, and then a section on different types of penguins. And so we worked on retelling just orally, just saying it. And every time we got to a section, when we touched the different pieces, we said a detail. Today, we're going to work on taking that oral retell and now actually writing. Because sometimes readers want to write about what they've learned so that they can remember it. And so we're going to take that same strategy, only we are going to actually write. And remember that sometimes writers draw pictures. Sometimes writers write labels on those pictures. And sometimes writers write sentences. And I'm going to show you what that could look like. Okay. And then I also need some help from you. Okay. So let's take these labels off and put them over here. So penguins is in the middle. That's our topic. And the first oval is going to be about where they live, and then the body parts, and then the baby chicks, the facts about baby chicks, and the types of penguins. Okay? And so when we retold the where, we talked about, let me just show you what, I'm going to share my screen. This is the page that we read. How they live all different places and they have to live where it's cold and by water. And so I just want you to watch me how I would do this. So if I'm looking at that map and I'm thinking about if I need 3 different places to write about, I think I would pick Antarctica because look at all those penguins down there by Antarctica. So Antarctica, and I could draw a picture of Antarctica like it looks on the map, and then write the word Antarctica. And that's going to go in one piece of my dissected web. And then in another place, I think I'm going to write about South America, because look at all those penguins around South America. So I'm going to draw a picture of South America, and then I'm going to write the word South America, and it's going to go on another piece of that oval. And then the last one, I'm going to write Australia because there are some penguins over there in Australia. So I'll draw a picture of Australia and then write the word Australia as a label. So that completes my oval on where they live. Now I'm gonna model on one more page, and then I'll have you help me. So the next section was about his body parts, and so I'm going to turn the page here just so you can remember what this page was about. I talked about his flippers and his big eyes and his feathers and his webbed feet and his blubber to keep him warm. So let me think about it. I'm going to make one of those pieces about webbed feet, because that, I feel like that was an important detail. So I drew the webbed feet and I wrote webbed feet, and that's going to be one piece of my oval there. And then I'm thinking the big eyes to see. They have big eyes. So I drew a big eye there and I wrote the words big eyes. That's going to go on another section of this web about body parts. And then one thing I really noticed about penguins when I look at them are their flippers. And so they have those stiff flippers. So I drew a picture of the penguin and drew an arrow to his flippers, and then I wrote the word flipper. Okay, so those are the body parts. That completes another oval. So now I want you guys to help me try it now. So let's go to the section on baby chicks. So let me flip over here, flip past some of these other sections, and we'll go to the section on baby chicks. A chick is born. I'll let you look at that page for a second. Talks about laying eggs and keeping them warm. Remember that? And how the parents go out and find food, and they sing special songs to find their parents. So think about that and think about one fact about baby chicks. Let's start with how they're born. Think for a second. Remember we said they hatched out of an egg? Yeah, so then you could draw an egg and then write hatch from egg. That's how penguins are born. That's a great fact about baby chicks. They hatch from an egg. Think about another fact that we talked about. You remember we talked about how they feed their penguins, baby penguins, the parents? Yeah, is that what you were thinking? I think that's what we said yesterday. And so I drew a picture of the mama penguin feeding the baby penguin, the chick, and then I wrote, parents feed them. See that? Parents feed them. So that's going to go on another section. And remember that other interesting fact about how they find their parents? Do you remember what that was? Yeah, they sing special songs, don't they? So that their parents can find them. Remember we talked about that? So you could draw a picture of the baby chick, and we drew some music notes coming out there. And then I wrote sing songs. Sing songs. They sing songs so their parents can find them. Great job. You just helped me write about that oval. Great job. So the last section that we talked about last time were types of penguins. So let me flip to the types of penguins. Yes, it was called a penguin parade. We looked at this one. There are 17 different types. There's several on this page. We talked about the fairy was the smallest. And then when we turned the page, the largest was the emperor. Macaroni has some crazy hair, doesn't he? Okay, so remember that page? So think about one type of penguin. Remember we talked about the fairy penguin being the smallest? He was the tiniest. So I drew a tiny little penguin and I wrote fairy. That's one type of penguin. What's another type? Do you remember the largest penguin? Did you say emperor? Yeah. The emperor is the largest penguin. So you could draw a picture of a large penguin and write emperor. That's going to go on another slice. And then there's one other type of penguin I thought looked kind of fun here. The rock hopper penguin. So if we draw a picture of a rock hopper penguin, that crazy hair, and then write rock hopper penguin. So if we look at our dissected web, we could write about where they live. We could write about their body parts. We could write about baby chicks and types of penguins. So I want to show you here. If you look on the screen here, this is a form that we can use where we can draw a picture at the top. If we wanted to write some sentences about all of this, there's a picture at the top, and then there are some lines underneath. And what we can do is draw a picture of some of these important things about penguins at the top. So I drew a picture of these parents sitting on the egg, and then I draw a picture of a baby chick singing. And then we could write some sentences about it. And I'm thinking you could maybe write one sentence from each section here. So if I wrote a sentence about where they're from, you could pick one. Let's do Antarctica. What could we say about penguins living in Antarctica. What could that sentence look like? Think about it. Penguins live in Antarctica? That's what I'm thinking. Penguins live in Antarctica. So that could be a simple sentence that you could write. And if I wanted to write a sentence about his body parts, I love that they have flippers. That's what I think about when I think about penguins. I think about their flippers. So how could I say that in a sentence? Penguins have flippers? Is that what you said? Or they have flippers? Yeah, good, right. They have flippers. Great job. Okay. And then if I wanted to write a sentence about baby chicks, I think it's pretty important that they hatch from an egg, don't you? How could we write that in a sentence? Penguins hatch from eggs, or they hatch from eggs? Yeah, they hatch from eggs. Great. And then if I wanted to write about types of penguins, I think it'd be cool to talk about the smallest and the largest, don't you? How could we say that about fairy penguins? What could we say? Fairy penguins are the smallest. Did you say that? Fairy penguins are the smallest. Yeah. And what could we say about emperor penguins? Emperor penguins are the largest. Yeah. Emperors are the largest. Great job. You helped me write a paragraph about penguins. Now, if you don't write that many words, it's okay. Some of you might be ready to write some simple sentences from your dissected web, and some may just want to draw pictures like we did on the Post-it notes. And that's okay. Writers are picture drawers, and writers write sentences in words. So if you're in Mrs. Longmire's class, I would have you practice writing some more about those other sections of the book. Remember, there was the section on how penguins play. There was a section on, hold on one second, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, how penguins play. There was a section on how penguins march. There was a section on what penguins eat. There's the marching one, and what they eat and how they live on land. So I would go back and I would fill out a dissected web about some of those other sections. And I have the picture of the web right here that you can either just draw, you can just draw your own circles, or you could print it out if you have a printer. And I would do a dissected web for those other sections, like how they play, what they eat, how they live on land, and how they march. Those could each be an oval, and then go back in and find some of those details that would be the pieces of those puzzles. And draw pictures just like we did with these Post-it notes. Draw pictures of those details and just write words. And then, if some of you want to write sentences like we did about these parts, then you could draw a picture of your penguin at the top, playing or marching or whatever you learned about in those other sections. And then there's some lines underneath that you could write some sentences, maybe one sentence about each oval, kind of your favorite fact from each oval, and you could put it in a sentence. If you were in Mrs. Longmire's class, that's what I would have you do. I would have you do the dissected web and write some sentences, if you can, about those other sections of the Penguin book. But your teacher might have a better idea.